Do you sometimes feel like there aren't enough hours in the day to get everything you need to get done? Well, you're not alone. Our next guest, Alyssa Lassiter, is a personal life coach who's here to share her blueprint on how to maximize your time and get the results that you want. Good morning, Alyssa. Good to see you.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be here.
Thanks for making time for us.
Absolutely. And you know, we were talking about the time going back, and by the time you get home, it's like, oh, I'm ready to go to bed.
That's right. It's dark. We don't want to do anything anymore. So what is the key to getting your time in order, managing your time?
Well, I have some steps that you can do today to change your patterns and to really just be a better manager of your time. So my first step is ask, why do I even want to be a better manager of my time? What's that going to mean for my family, for me, for my routine? And then after that, it's just important to have that blueprint. You don't start building a house without a plan, right?
So where do we start with the blueprint? I guess maybe prioritize?
Absolutely. So you need to really just establish what your priorities are in your life. Is it contributing to your overarching goal? Is it contributing to your well-being? Do we keep it or do we let it go? And sometimes we really try to hold on to those things that, you know, aren't necessarily helping us be the person that we want to be.
I think the most important lesson I learned in time management was saying no.
Ooh. Absolutely, N-O, and that can be an easy word if you're like 2 and 3, but as we get older, it's funny because sometimes it's harder to say because we really want everyone to be in our corner, but we also have to be mindful of how we're taking care of ourselves.
Because a lot of times, if you say yes to everything, you have no time to do things that you need to do.
Absolutely. And so I think that's part of establishing those priorities and having your I can do it, or it would be nice to get done. And sometimes if you don't get to those would be nice to get done, knowing that it's okay.
Right. And this is not something that we're going to do a sweeping change in one day. We've got to do baby steps, right?
Yes. And it's so important to celebrate those baby steps. Say, for example, if you get to work, you know, 30 minutes late, hopefully not, but, you know, if you make small steps and, hey, I get to work a little 5 minutes earlier, to acknowledge that and say, okay, I'm going to do a little bit better. And if you notice that you're not reaching those benchmarks like you'd like to, that's when it's okay to ask for help or accountability.
So habitual lateness, it can be a big problem, and that a lot of that is due to time management.
Yes, absolutely. And it's just really good to just ask those questions. Okay, why do I find myself being late every morning? Why do I find myself not getting things done? I'll give you an example in my life. At one point, I was working long hours, and when I get home, I'd have all these things staring at me on my to-do list. And I'm like, man, I'm like zonked. And then I realized I'd spent a lot of my emotional energy at work, and I was a little more productive in the morning. So it wasn't that I was incapable of getting those things done. I just worked better at a different time. So I switched my schedule around, and I really just set myself up for success. And that's something that people need to remember.
Success is a good thing. You mentioned to-do list. Is that a good idea to actually set down a list for yourself of things that you want and need to do for the day?
So the first thing is you can have all the to-do lists that you want, but if you don't have time to look at those and really be in touch with your goals for the day, it's just, you know, something nice.
It's just another list.
Right. It's just something nice that you put in your planner for that day. So it's really important to have that time that you set aside to really align yourself with the things that you need to get done. And then give yourself some grace. We're not perfect. And it's okay if you don't get to every little thing on your to-do list. But like I said, in that event that you find yourself habitually not making that mark that you'd like to set for yourself, don't be afraid and ask for help.
What about the procrastinator? We keep putting things off and the list just gets longer of things that we need to do. That's a big time management issue.
Yes, and I have really found out the key to getting to that root cause of procrastination is asking yourself why. When you look at that big pile of clothes, you know, what do you feel? Do you feel overwhelmed, or do you feel like, I don't want to do it? You know, so sometimes in order to avoid that uncomfortable feeling, we'll avoid the task, which can cause problems at home or things like that. So it's just important to, one, be in touch with that reason, you know, write it down, think about it. It's not a test. Nobody's going to grade you. Nobody's going to see your answers, whatever. And to just tackle that and then move it on. And then I think it's good to just visualize how you're going to feel once you've finished that task. And then that can get you from there to completion.
Alyssa Lassiter, thanks so much for joining us today. We'll all take one step today toward time management.